Hi, you're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundaram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Hayes.
we will be sitting down with our industry leaders to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry.
Today's guest is Noemi Schmidt. Noemi has 13 years of bid management experience, including 4 years in IBM and 6 years within Computacenter, 10 years total in IT various countries such as France, Hungary, Canada, and UK. She's filled roles such as bid specialist, bid coordinator, bid manager, senior bid manager, and currently the team leader of bid management in France. Living in the UK and working for Computacenter for 6 years, she's mainly covered French business, always worked in bilingual environments, and holds APMP certifications, including Foundation and Practitioner, and she's preparing for her professional assessment. She won APMP 40 Under 40 in 2020. Bonjour, and welcome to Scribble Talk, Noemi. Ça va? Hopefully I did that right.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you so much. And oui, ça va. Thanks for asking. How about yourself? Are you feeling today?
Yeah, doing well. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. The weather is really, really beautiful today. Sitting in London actually, and it's not very common. So I think I'm really happy today to see the sun is shining and the weather is really nice. So thanks for the question. I'm doing really fine.
Well, such a great day for the podcast then.
Exactly.
If you've listened, if you've listened before, we love to start in the beginning. So we're curious, where were you born? Where did you grow up and where did you go to school?
So so thanks for asking. Actually, so I was born in Hungary, so I'm originally Hungarian, and that's where I spent most of my young age. Basically, I went to high school in Hungary and started university studies over there. But I would say that my family is quite international. So we have family in Switzerland. So I had some time which I spent in Switzerland during my high school studies. And yes, I did university studies, economics and business administration mostly in Hungary. In Budapest, and I continued to study in France as well. So basically, I got master's degree in business administration, and I also have master's in teacher of economics.
Oh, wow.
So that's a little bit my background in my studies. And yeah, as I say, I mostly spent my time in Hungary, and then I fell in love with the French language simply, and so I went to France a little bit.
That's amazing. So your first job outside of university, was it business related, or what was your first job outside?
So basically, it's quite interesting because I think ever since I've been working, I've been working with French customers and French colleagues. So when I came back from my university studies in 2006, so I guess a long time ago, I started to work for a French IT company, and they wanted to set up their operation in Hungary. So I was their commercial person, sitting there and build their business on the Hungarian market. That was basically my first job, and I think that led me to different other commercial and business related jobs later on.
Oh, wow. What an exciting job right outside of university. Can you tell us a little bit about your career timeline from there?
Yeah, of course. So, so basically, as I said, that was also, basically my first job was also with a French company, and
Mhm.
this is something that I continued later on. So, after working for this company, I continued to work for the French Chamber of Commerce based in Hungary. So basically the French Chamber of Commerce, they have like an international network, and they have like chapters for APMP. They have different
Mm.
chambers in various countries, and they have one in Hungary. So I became the commercial lead in the chamber, and I was seeking mostly business for French companies wanting to settle down in Hungary and wanted to find partners there. It was quite a good time because it wasn't very, it was quite soon after we joined the European Union. So Hungary joined in 2005. And basically a few years later, a lot of Western, including French companies, wanted to find business over there. So it was really exciting to find basically their partners and businesses for them on the Hungarian market. So
Oh,
and then
wow.
yeah,
Yeah, what a cool job.
yeah, it was really good, and I think that's where I didn't know, but that's where my big management career started
Mm.
because I met a lot of French companies. I had to basically write up a lot of proposals for them
Mhm.
because it's not only about providing a service to find their partners, but also basically selling the chamber service, which is partner, like finding partners and completing and conducting market research and stuff like that. So I had to
Mhm.
do a lot of proposals for these companies in order to sell the service we provided for them.
Mhm.
So I think that's when unknowingly I started um, to do bid management. It was mostly proposal writing at the time. And then later on, I really enjoyed this activity. So when I quit the chamber, I created my own company, and basically I proposed the same service for French customers, and I had a few interesting projects, including cheese distribution and other interesting things like dental tourism and things like that. So the things that were quite popular at the time, I would say.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was basically providing services like market research and also finding partners as an agent basically for those companies.
Yeah.
Um, and that was really interesting, but I always wanted to know more about how it feels to work in a global, like multinational size company, and
Mhm.
and that's where basically IBM came into the picture. I was quite lucky, I think, because at that year it was 2009, I think. That's where IBM started to outsource their bid management activity to Hungary. So there is obviously IBM in Hungary as well, and so we started to work um, in, um, in this bid management field because basically they decided to reduce their headcount in Western countries like France and Germany and Italy and other countries, and they basically moved their activity to Hungary, and they really wanted to find trilingual, so skilled people in
Mhm.
Hungary who could do the big management activity for them. and obviously they could use my French language, which was great, but I had no clue whatsoever on what bid management was. So that was quite funny because I applied for the job, but I explained to the person that yes, I have a lot of French knowledge, but not bid management. So I don't know what it is all about. And so they basically trained me, and they explained I became a bid specialist for France actually. And I used to work a lot with our French colleagues and French sales department. Obviously, had to increase their revenue, and I worked on a lot of proposals, mostly in IT services. So that was really interesting, and I think that was really the first impression what I had from bid management, what bid management is. So it was really good. I think it was a good induction for me to start, and it's as a big specialist basically in IBM.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure working for a multinational firm like that, you have some very memorable proposals. Are there any that stick out in your mind?
I can't really say that there is like one or two main proposals, because for me, I think this is always fascinating, is to work on global framework, global proposals. So when you have to kind of pull together stakeholders from various countries, and you have to basically cover a service for on a global scale. So that's where I think it gets really interesting to pass those language barriers, and also to be able to organize and make sure that the timeline is kept and everything is in order within this big team of people from various countries. I think that's where it becomes really interesting, and that's what I had as an experience in IBM, and today we're in Computacenter. So I think it's really fascinating to work in a global environment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, language challenges and barriers. What about any, cultural challenges across countries? Have you run into that, and how do you deal with that?
Oh yeah, of course. I think when you work when you work for example, I can tell you that IBM, as a Hungarian, I was working for this American company, but in the meantime working for France. That in itself, it's a quite interesting cultural situation. Yeah, I mean, I think every day I meet challenges on this topic, because I work a lot with, for example, with French colleagues, and they need to speak English in a lot of times when we go, when we work on global contracts, and that's mostly it's fine, but obviously it means that you have to be on a certain level, and I think that's a very big challenge for a lot of people. But also, it happens for German people. That's the same challenge. So I think that's where we have to step up and explain that, okay, guys, you need to speak a little bit slower, or we kind of try to do some translations. So already there is this language barrier, but I think mostly it's exciting, and I've never really run into any like issue or problem. So I think it's just always very exciting to see people from France, from Scotland, from Ireland, from the UK, from Germany working together, and making this effort to do it, to make it happen. I think it's really beautiful.
Oh, for sure. And so you mentioned that, when you're communicating, it sounds like you're communicating often in English. What about the actual proposal? Are those getting submitted in French? Are they getting submitted in English or a completely different language?
So basically, my daily job is mostly in French because I work with the French sales department. But because I'm sitting in the UK, I work and I talk a lot with my UK-based colleagues as well, with my line manager or with other colleagues who are based in the UK, but also sometimes Germany or, as I mentioned, Scotland. So with all these guys, obviously in English. But my actual proposals, because I'm focusing mostly on the French market, are usually in French, and I talk to the stakeholders in French. They are based in France, and the proposals and the RFPs are basically to be submitted in France in 99% of the cases. So yeah, I would say it's absolutely bilingual, but mostly French.
Yeah, wow. And so we're curious, a lot of, APMP best practices are in English. Do you face any challenges communicating those in French or finding resources that are, in the French language?
I think it's pretty, I'm not really facing any, I would say, challenge. The challenge which I faced, or if I can say that, it's not really linked to the fact that the APMP languages is in English, but mostly that, for example, within my organization, but even before that, I saw this. People were not really aware of what big management was. So I think it was mostly the challenge to explain, what big management is about, how we can add value, and what exactly they can gain if they engage us. So I think this is mostly where it becomes challenging, when there is something that is already set up and works for the sales community, and somebody from the outside coming in and say, "Oh, guys, I know me. I don't say I know it better, but I can definitely add some value." And basically, you need to introduce something new, and maybe you have to pull in some new procedures or something that they kind of need to apply because that's best practice, as you say. So I think this is where the challenge sits, not really in terms of the fact that it's mostly written in English and all those things. Because when you explain and when you start to apply, it makes sense. But to get there, to make it start to work, that's I think where you need to do the job, to kind of go there, introduce, explain, and try to convince them that they could use it and that makes sense, and then it's going to bring them value.
Absolutely. I think that's a universal challenge with proposal and bid management.
Definitely, absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your team? You've mentioned a lot about your stakeholders and some of the proposals, but we're curious to know a little bit more about the team you work with.
Yeah, so basically, within my company, so Computacenter, we definitely work with the French business. We have a French subsidiary there, and we have many offices there in France, which is, I think, great. And basically, there is a French bid management team, and I'm the team leader of the team, and we try to give as much value as possible to our colleagues, and I think it works in most of the cases quite good, and I'm so happy to work with my team and with my colleagues. They are really motivated, and they're always keen to take on new opportunities, and that's really a good environment to work in. And I think the company in France is also a great team of people. So yeah, it's very positive experience for me, and I think that's also that's quite clear to see that I've been here for 6 years, which is quite a lot of time already for me within one organization, and it's, you know, it's been a great journey for me, great professional journey, and I really love doing that.
Oh, yeah. And what is it like leading your team from the UK? Are any of them local? Are most of them located in France or other countries?
Yeah, that's a funny question, because I think, you know, today, and especially with COVID, we understood that it's really, you know, you have to be flexible, and you have to kind of be able to think outside the box, I think, and be able to work to work basically with people who are not in your country, and that's been the case for me as well. So I have people working within in Spain, and also in Germany, and in France as well. So basically, for me, I think it's been quite a few years that we've been working like this. So I think it's, I mean, yeah, it has its challenges, but I think it's beautiful to see how it works, even though you are not sitting in the same room. So you, I mean, it really works. You can definitely motivate people, and you know, it just works. I would say easily.
Yeah.
I think the most important part is that you need to have a continuous relationship with them. So you need to make sure that they are okay, that they looked after, you know, and we have, you know, like weekly team meetings where we can obviously cover all the work stuff, but we can also have some fun and, you know, talk about some personal things. And I think that makes it, you know, the environment makes very comfortable, yeah, comfortable and good to work in. And if they have any problem, they can always, you know, turn to me, even though we are not in the same country. So and yeah, and you know, in terms of the team meetings, for example, that makes it really exciting to be able to decide whether you want to meet up in the UK or in Spain or in, you know, in France. So it's quite exciting to see those, you know, maybe just pick one location each time, and you know, that's quite a positive thing, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. I bet that the team meetings where you're able to meet in person and experience the, you know, environment of your colleagues is
Yeah,
quite nice.
absolutely. So that was the case, you know, before the COVID. We really made sure that we kind of meet up every now and then, 3-4 times a year, to, you know, to meet up in person, to keep this vibe going. And obviously, you know, during the pandemic, it was not possible. So that was really, I think that was challenging for everyone. And now again, I think slowly, we might be able to plan our next meeting ahead. I'm not sure where it's going to be, but I think it's going to be exciting to, you know, to meet up with the whole team again.
Oh, yeah, that will be so good for morale, I'm sure.
Yes.
So when did you come to know about APMP as an organization?
So in terms of APMP, basically, I joined Computacenter 6 years ago, and soon after, yeah, because I joined as a bid coordinator. To be honest, even though I had experience within bid management, I think I had to really understand how bid management worked in Computacenter, and to be honest, I was also new in the country. I arrived here 6 years ago, so yeah, I thought I would kind of start at a, let's say, entry level, and that's where I was introduced to APMP, and I had the possibility to, you know, to pass APMP Foundation exam. I think within the first 2 years I did that. And then later on, I could do APMP practitioner. That was a really good, I think it really made me realize how much I've been working in the industry, because for that, I think I was the last, I was in the last bunch of people who could basically do this assessment type APMP practitioner exam. So it wasn't there wasn't a questionnaire, or there wasn't this test type exam. It was, we had to kind of really go through all our experience and to explain in detail a lot about what we achieved. So it was quite a good view on what I did in the industry. And so, yeah, I mean, since then, I've been trying to, be quite active and be on events, and also do some networking within APMP. So I think it's a great organization. So I think it's really good to be part of APMP as a member. Yeah. So
yeah, that's great, and I can definitely relate to you about the practitioner questionnaire. I thought it was so valuable to go back and reflect on experience and apply that and demonstrate, all those competencies. It was just a rewarding experience to go through that.
exactly, yeah. It made you sort of realize, oh wow, okay, I've achieved quite a lot.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, the newly formed APMP France and the chair, Hilda Gomez.
Yeah, so basically, I'm planning to meet her in some time. I had some, I basically, I'm at the moment, I'm a member of the UK chapter, so I have more understanding of the UK chapter at the moment. But as the French chapter is quite recent, I would really like to know more about how they work, what kind of services they offer, and I think it would be nice to be part of their membership, because I work for the French market, so I think it's more for me, it would make more sense to kind of understand a bit more how they work, and maybe take part in some events they organize. So that's definitely one thing I'd like to catch up with her, and to get to know her a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I can relate to that as well. I'm located in Nashville, but I affiliate with the NCA chapter in the US because that's the market that I work in as well. So definitely.
No, it's a great idea to kind of start to seek, people and the professionals in the area where you kind of, let's say, belong, or where you work.
Right. Yeah. So you can get those synergies and understand the challenges that they're facing, probably similar ones to you, and get some ideas on how to overcome them and get some best practices specific to the types of bids that you're pursuing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with you, because I think you have like nuances and different things in each country. So I think where you can have a chat with the people who work in those areas and in those regions, I think they can have a better understanding on certain things that are just different. So
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, it's been so great to hear about your career. Before we pivot over into the surprise rapid fire questions round with Bhaskar, can you tell us 3 things not many people know about you?
That's funny. Okay, so I think I would start with my name, because I think when people see my name, it's a German name, so Schmidt is German, and when they know that I live in the UK and work for the French business, I think that's quite a confusion many times, and so they become quite surprised when they basically understand that I'm Hungarian. So I think that's that's one thing that I would mention. And I think I probably mentioned earlier when I talked about my career path. Because I've been working in the IT industry for so long, I think that's like a gap in my career when I created, my own company, and basically I ran my own consulting firm, and I offered services for French companies, and basically I had a few interesting projects that I mentioned, like distributing cheese, for example. So that's spending 10 years in the IT industry, and but yeah, so that's one thing. Maybe not many people know about me, that I also distributed cheese. And the third one is quite like personal, but I think it's also like a funny thing in my life. I It wasn't quite often when I won any contest, but I won a beauty contest when I became let's say the beauty queen in the university ball in 2000. So that's I would say it's a fun fact from 2000. So
Oh my goodness.
things.
Yeah, I'm sure Bhaskar is going to dig into that a little bit more for sure.
There was there was a little bit of an internet at that time, but not much. So there is no real information on that. But yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. I think Ashley, if you noticed, last week we had Sarah, and she was also a beauty pageant.
Yeah.
So the podcast is now going to an entirely different level now. So we invite beauty pageants and Thank you, Naomi. I think thanks for sharing. It's good to know about your early life career, and also APMP, and also three things. But talk us through about your hobbies and interests as well, Naomi, before we get into the nutters round.
Yeah, sure. And thank you actually a lot for all these questions. It was really great to have this chat with you. So in terms of my hobbies and interests, so basically I'm I'm mostly a sports person, so I really like doing various sports, and also trying sports. So it's just, even if I don't know, I'm happy to kind of try and give it a chance. But what I usually practice is mostly gym. So I really like going to the gym, and a few years ago I fell in love with the body pump classes. So that's something I really love doing. In the meantime, I have to tell you that lately, especially during COVID, I wouldn't say I've become a bit lazy, but it was quite a challenge to get to any gym. So I would rather go outside, So I think my gym time has changed a little bit, but anyway, so I still end up with this thing that is called body pump. And I recently, it means like 4 years ago, I started to do horse riding. I think that's it's a great sport, and I also love nature, and I think, when you do horse riding, you're really in the nature. I mean, I usually do it outside, on a field, or in a forest, and I think that's really great to be on a horse outside in the nature. I think that's a great activity. And I started to learn tennis last year, so I think that's good. The reason actually why I started tennis is because I found that this is a great sport you cannot do alone. So you can do gym time alone, and even though if you're in a class, basically you do things you don't really, you don't really talk. You just, I mean, yes, you're amongst people, but you still do it alone. And horse riding is the same. You can do it in group, but that's not the same. But the tennis, you need to have a partner, so you just can't do it alone. And I think after spending some time, during COVID, like not meeting that many people, I think I had the feeling that why not doing something more social? And I also like water sports, like surf and wakeboard and things like that. It's quite fun. And obviously traveling when you can. So that's another thing. And yeah, and I haven't mentioned skiing, which is also, I think, a great outside sport. So I think everything you can do and you can try. It's great if you can enjoy. So for me, it's always about enjoying it and not really any competition or anything like that. It's mostly about the joy it can give you. And in terms of interests, I'm really into like self-development stuff, like I would say like infinite self-development. So that's I believe that this is something you cannot really start. So once you have an experience to kind of become conscious about certain things you do, or maybe you've done it unconsciously, but now you're conscious about, and you can basically develop yourself to be more conscious of things. I think that's a great way to develop yourself, and I really truly believe in the power of this self-development activity. Yeah, and the other things I do, let's say parallel is mostly around like holistic relaxation techniques. So I think when we are in a very stressful environment, such as, it can be work related, it can be personal, everybody has different aspects or experience of stress. I think knowing and using techniques that can help you to reduce stress, I think that's a great thing. And I do meditation, for example. It's called TM, so transcendental meditation. I think it's a great tool to release stress, and I also a Reiki practitioner, so I think that's also something that you should try. And the other favorite is the sound healing. So you have these sound bowls, like mostly crystals and bowls, or I also do other types of sound bowls, and they can have like a magical vibe and get you to a very relaxed environment quite quickly. So yeah, I think these things are quite interesting to me.
That's a lot, Naomi. Obviously, I think it's good on one end, you do all the sporty activities, on the other end, you have time for reflection, which is good. So thank you for sharing. And from now on, things will accelerate. So there is no right or wrong answer, and you are officially entering the nutters round. So don't think too much. Whatever comes to your mind, let it be the answer. And it's rapid random fire, as we say. From now on, we'll be moving very, very fast. So question number one, what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Oh, when I wake up in the morning, basically I usually take a shower, and then I have my breakfast, and yeah, and then you do all the things like brush your teeth and things like that, and then I start to work. So I usually work from home, and that makes it more easy to start early.
Right, good. So do you try Do you try to spend time at night without your phone, or do you take your phone to the bed?
So I usually take it, unfortunately, I usually take it into the bed, but I don't work. I usually just, go through an article or just, go through an email or just do something to distract my mind for a few minutes, and then that's it. So and then I put it aside and then I don't touch it.
Okay. Would you rather time travel to the past or to the future?
So I'm trying to make a lot of effort to stay in the present, actually.
Yeah, that is a challenge. But would you like, if you're given a time machine, would you go back to the past or would you go to the future?
I would say I would to the future.
Okay, that's interesting.
Is it a mistake?
No, as you mentioned, there is no right or wrong answer, whatever you say. We normally answer questions now. I mean, we don't know the answers for all these things. We just ask you. So, what is your favorite board game?
So my favorite board game, I don't know actually. I'm trying to. I really like cards if it comes to game, but yeah, I would say cards, but it's not a board game. So
That's
is it okay anyway?
That's perfectly fine. And if you could have a dinner with any three people from history, who would you invite and what will you cook?
Oh my God. It's very difficult as a question. Can I pass and maybe have some thought around it?
Yeah, of course you can. What do you get every time you go for grocery shopping?
So I try to eat with a vegetable. And I always have something like, paprika and broccoli and kale and cucumber and radish. So those things I try to eat on a daily basis. Avocado as well. And fish. As I don't really eat meat, but I do eat fish. And brown rice. So those things.
Nice. What's your favorite type of holiday?
So I think I would rather go to the beach. It depends, obviously, what the kind of beach, but I would rather go to the beach where there is not a lot of people. But I think if I could do like in the same week, like a little bit of a beach and skiing as well, I think I would do both.
What would be the hardest thing for you to give up?
Oh, so I think when I believe in something, it's really hard to give that up and accept the fact that it might not work out the way I would like to do it. So I have a tendency to hang on until the last minute and to just to give it up. It's just not an option. So sometimes I just need to accept that things don't work out the way I would like to, but I'd rather try to keep as much as possible to see whether it works out.
Okay. So who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
I think I would say my family, because it's a really, I think it's really it's a strong international, family, and not just international. I mean, it is because, we're quite spread, as I said, like in Europe as well, the States. But in the meantime, everybody is very different. And I could really learn a lot from what it means to be in an environment when you have a lot of different characters and different people. And on the top of that, having this international impact. I think that gave me a lot to be able to work and live, in an it's an international environment.
What one personal trait you like the most about yourself?
I need to think. I think I can be quite funny.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something I would highlight, and yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
So if I ask a reference from your parents or from your friends, what do you think they will tell about you?
I think they would say that I really try to stand by them, and to make sure that they are all right, and they can count on me in any situation. So I think that's something they would say. I think.
That's good. So what's the one common myth about our profession that you want to debunk, that you say, you know what, that's the perception of what they think about us, but that's not true? Is there anything coming to your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot. Maybe Ashley agrees as well, but basically, I would say that sometimes, especially the sales community, think that we are like, sales assistants, or someone who's there, they can give some job and do some, I don't know, some commercial assistant stuff. Whereas we have our own responsibility, and we are definitely not like assistants. And I think that's one myth we need to kind of explain, or I needed to explain a lot of times to the sales community. What are the values I can bring on board? And I have, for example, if there's a team meeting, we have an equal say, and equal position is done.
Nice. That's so true. So what advice would you give fellow bid and proposal professionals?
I think I would say that they need to be confident, and they need to know their value. And even though, because in many cases, I think bid management is an industry in itself, and we don't need to be an expert in IT, or we don't need to be an expert. Obviously, it's good to have the knowledge, but we don't need the same level of expertise as a technical person, for example, if we talk about IT. So I think even though we don't have this kind of background, I think we still can be confident on what we know as bid managers, and what we can bring on board with the value, and how we can help the sales team to kind of win without really having this specific, for example, IT knowledge or something that they might have, because they need to go there, they need to present. But we can tell them how to present, or how to make it a compelling, winning, deliverable and winning bid.
That's a good advice, Naomi. So Naomi, is there any questions that we haven't asked you that you would like to ask us? Like any part of your life or career that we have missed before we close the episode?
Not really. So I don't really have anything in mind. And I was really happy to have this conversation with you. So thank you so much for the opportunity. That was a great session.
Thank you. I think it was very kind of what you called, this was like a counseling session. I'm sure listeners will be able to get that, how measured you were in your responses. You took time to answer the questions, and every word directly came from your heart. And that's so nice. Thank you. Thank you so much, Naomi, for your time today. On behalf of me and Ashley, it's been an absolute privilege to have you. I wish you, your family, everyone at Computacenter, all your colleagues, all the good health and happiness. Continue to inspire the bid and proposal industry colleagues, and also your newly formed association with the APMP France and other chapters. Good luck with everything. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pashka, and thank you, Wesley. It was really, really nice to talk to you today. Thank you.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.